Hi everyone, Matt Bernier here in the Daily Racing Form studios, joined by DRF's national handicapper Mike Watchmaker. Taking a look at this weekend's Weekend Warriors. Saturday, October the 28th is the calm before the storm. The Breeders' Cup World Championships are next weekend, next Friday and Saturday. But guess what? We've got good stakes action prior to that coming up this weekend. Two races from Belmont, one from Santa Anita. Let's start off at Belmont Park. Race number 7, a mile and a 16th on the Widener. It is the Grade 3 Athenia. It's a giant field in here, Mike. You have also one on the also eligible list. You can go a number of ways. Horses from the West Coast, all over the place. You're going to go with Time and Motion here, one of our New York breds, our New York-based horses, I should say.
Yeah, I am going with Time and Motion here, but any discussion of this race has to begin with Off Limits, who was absolutely just as impressive as a horse could be when she won the Noble Damsel last month, beating Time and Motion among others. And what was so impressive about Off Limits, beyond the fact that she was bet like the race was run the day before, I mean, I was shocked at how heavily bet she was in that race, was she rallied from last. It was only a field of 5, but she was well off the pace, and the pace was not strong. I mean, go back and look at the fractions of the other turf races that day, and the pace was just not that strong. And she made it look like they went out there 22:44 for a mile, and she just completely overwhelmed that horse, inhaled him by mid-stretch, and just ran away to score by almost 5 lengths and got a 105 Beyer speed figure in the process. It was a very impressive effort. And if she runs back anything close to that race, she's going to be very hard to beat in this spot, but at a very short price. But I think there are reasons to believe that Time and Motion, who finished 4th, beaten 5 lengths behind Off Limits and the Noble Damsel, come in a lot better and even potentially turn the tables. And these are my reasons for thinking that way. I mean, number one, Time and Motion was coming off a 2.5-month layoff when she ran in the Noble Damsel, and she's a filly that in the past has shown marked improvement second starts off layoffs. So I think she's primed to step forward just on that account. But I also thought that the Noble Damsel was a very good prep because she was too close to the early pace. I know it was a short field, but Time and Motion is better as a closer. And she was right on top of that pace, and that isn't the way she wants to run. She's reunited on Saturday with John Velasquez. She's always done her best running with John Velasquez, and I think that's going to help her too. And I think that if Time and Motion returns to her best form, second off a layoff, she can run back to her race in the Bogey 3 starts back, which notably came second start off a layoff. And I think a duplicate of her Bogey makes her a very legitimate win candidate in this spot because she finished 3rd in that race. She was beaten less than a length. Hawksmoor won that race. Hawksmoor came back and won the Grade 2 New York Stakes with a 102 Beyer figure and was second in the Grade 1 First Lady very recently. And second in that race was Decida. Decida won the Grade 1 Beverly D over the summer at Arlington, also with a 102 Beyer figure, was a narrowly beaten second in the Grade 1 Flower Bowl. And Decida is a horse who has a very good chance to win next Saturday's Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf. So Time and Motion ran well against some real heavy heads in that spot. And I think if she runs back that race, she can win this at what should be a square enough price.
We already touched on Off Limits, who's the likely favorite in this spot. And as you made mention, if she runs back to her last race, she's going to be very, very tough in here. Chad also has 2 other entrants in here. One is Elyse's World down on the inside. The other is Penjade. Penjade has slowly just kind of gone through the ranks, the conditions up to this level here. Elyse's World has tried graded stakes company in the past. Do you believe in either one of these? Think they're players or no?
Well, there's nothing. I think Penjade is in a little bit over ahead in this spot, but I understand why they're running her. They're running out of turf stake opportunities, and it'd be nice for her to get some black type. But Elyse's World, could win. She's okay. She wouldn't surprise me. She ran well, finishing second early this year in Florida twice to Dickinson, and that was back when Dickinson was really in tip-top form. And Elyse's World cycled back to her best form with a good second last time out in the Canadian Stakes. She can win. I'm just not terribly enthralled with her.
Very rarely do we see the West Coast turf horses come here to the East Coast and perform well. Usually it's the other way around, the East Coast going west. Decked Out comes in for Keith DeSormo. She's a filly that's got some races on her page that at least make her a contender in here. I suppose you can question her overall recent form. Do you think she has any chance in here?
Well, to me, she's sort of the other horse in here. I think Decked Out should be a square price in this spot. I mean, I would be disappointed if she wasn't. and she'd be one that I would use underneath the vertical wagers. She finished 5th last time out in the Rodeo Drive. That's a Grade 1 race. I don't know if that was really a Grade 1 field. Avenge won that race. Avenge was very good last year. She hasn't been nearly as good this year. And Avenge was really begging for the wire that day. But still, Decked Out was making only her 2nd start off a long layoff in that race. And she should be primed for a top effort 3rd start off the layoff. And it's really a sign of stable intent for her connections to send her all the way here, for a chance at more black type. So, I think she's set up to run well in this spot.
A couple other intriguing entrants in here. You have Wested, who is a horse that's been racing over in France, coming over here to run. You've got My Impression for Shug. Anybody else in this field do anything for you?
Not really. I think My Impression is a horse that I'm hoping takes a lot of money in here. I mean, relatively speaking, of course. Her buyer figures say that she should be able to compete against most of these horses, but when you look at her class lines and look who she's run against, and she's run against much, much weaker company. And I just think that at this level against these type of horses like Off Limits and Time and Motion, Alicia's World, that My Impression might be found wanting.
Race 7 at Belmont Park Saturday afternoon. It is the Grade 3 Athenia. Mike is going to go with Time and Motion for Jimmy Toner. John Velasquez hopefully turning the tables on Off Limits coming out of that Noble Damsel. We're going to take a break. When we come back, the second of 3 for this weekend's Weekend Warrior. We stay at Belmont Park. We take a look at the Bold Ruler.